All right, welcome back, squad. Welcome back to the Friday Night Prepper Pre-Party Show. Hope you all are having a good Friday so far. Hang on, I got an echo. Hang on. All right, I think I got it. Anyways, hope you all are having a good Friday. Welcome back. Sorry about that little problem in the beginning. If you're brand new to the show, this is a prepping channel. We're going to be a little bit off topic today, although my feeling is that censorship and free speech are topics that preppers should be discussing and on and aware of. So that's part of what we're going to be talking about tonight. If you get anything value out of tonight's talk, please consider giving me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to check in the description down below for some discount codes for some products that I think you will like if you are into emergency preparedness. Thank you once again to the mods for always helping out on Fridays. Appreciate you. And please be kind to the mods. They give their time freely. They are not paid. And make sure that you guys follow the rules. We're pretty loose on this channel, but just no racism, no sexism. If you get too disruptive, the mods have permission to put you in timeout or boot you out. And generally speaking, any racist or sexist comments that are posted in comments afterwards get deleted as soon as I see them. So don't even waste your time. It's good to see you, Lee. It's good to see you, David Edwards, Lazarus Long, Virginia Bushcrafter. Appreciate you. I think I'm going to go ahead and get right into this one. So a lot has happened this week. A lot has happened this week. And my original plan for tonight's stream, that's a no here. Evening, everyone. Yeah, good to see you, Kentucky. It's good to see you. My original plan for tonight's stream was I was going to talk about groupthink, which was a topic that Steve from Corsair Trainers had asked me to cover. Since my background is in psychology and I've been doing therapy for a long time, I definitely am planning to do something on that. I was doing my research on it, and then this Tik Tok ban thing happened, thrown in with the bill for foreign aid. I don't know if we'll get to that part of this discussion tonight or not, but so I decided to shift gears a little bit. We will get to the groupthink thing because that's going to be an important discussion for this summer, because we're probably, based on what's going on the college campuses around the country, we're probably entering into the summer of love 2.0. My particular feeling is that as soon as these universities and colleges close down for the summer, that we will, all of what the protests and everything else are going to spill out into Main Street USA. So we're going to need to be prepared for that, because last time we had the summer of love, people didn't peacefully protest. Or, I mean, I guess some people say that it was mostly peaceful, but a lot of it wasn't. And my city was one of the victims of that and was not handled really well. I think people are going to be a lot more prepared this time. So that's probably going to be, things are going to probably go different this time with Summer of Love 2.0, but that's a topic for another day. President Joe Biden signed the Tik Tok ban, and we can sit here and we can say this was a bipartisan bill, and it was. But ultimately, because it was a bipartisan bill, the only person who had the ability to stop this was Joe Biden with a veto. And instead of vetoing this and protecting people's free speech and something that people, I think the estimate is 150 million people in the United States use TikTok. I don't. I'll talk about that at the end. Why? I'll talk about why. But 150 million people do, and instead of protecting their right to enjoy something, he said, no, send me the bill, I'll sign it. So the buck stops with him, folks. Make sure you're clear about that. And if you want to do something about it, the first thing you can do is start holding these people accountable if you value your rights. So this ban, how does it work? So in Bytedance, the owner of TikTok, has 9 months. Sorry, something was vibrating. I think it's my other phone, my work phone. Bytedance has 9 months to sell TikTok to U.S. entities. Okay, and they've already indicated today they've issued a news statement saying that they have no intention of doing that. I think they will. I'm going to get to that in a minute. They are going to first legally challenge it, and the basis of the legal challenge is going to be on that this is about free speech, and it is. But why I don't, and some legal analysts think they'll win. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a therapist. Why I think they won't win is because the counter argument is going to be that you have plenty of choices for free speech in the United States, such as Twitter and Facebook. Although we can definitely make some arguments about the censorship there and Meta and things like that. Twitter is definitely better if if in terms of respecting people's free speech. Of course, there's consequences to that as well. If you don't like seeing other people's viewpoints, you're going to see that on Twitter. You're absolutely going to see things that you disagree with, and maybe that's a good thing. Yeah, there's some trash out there. There's some racism. There's some sexism. There's some ugliness. But maybe we counter that with our own free speech, right? And you call people out for stuff like that, or you block them if you don't want to see that, right? So there's ways to handle that kind of stuff. So legal challenges are going to happen, but my personal opinion is that they will not. TikTok, Bytedance is not going to win these legal challenges. It may cause some delays to it. So the next question becomes, what entities in the United States would be involved with the purchase of this? Well, there's really, and I'm going to check in with comments here in just a second, y'all. If you have questions or comments and you want to join in on the discussion, go ahead and throw them in chat periodically. I go back and I check chat for stuff like that. And also there's a poll. I've got a poll at the top of chat. If you could, just let me know if you use TikTok or not. Just curious how many people that watch my videos are on TikTok as well, or just as a viewer at least. So what entities in the United States could possibly be buyers? There's really only a handful. Because the estimation that I saw was that you're talking about, I think I saw $100 billion is what they think that the asking price is going to be. $100 billion. That's a lot of cheddar, folks. So who's got that kind of money? Microsoft, Elon Musk, YouTube and Google YouTube, which is the same thing. Alphabet, I guess that's the parent company name for Google, is Alphabet. Meta, Facebook, Apple, and so all of those are either tech companies or associated with tech companies. And there will be, if any of those try to purchase it, there'll be the immediate thing that you'll see is there'll be an antitrust lawsuits filed because it starts to create monopoly. Now, how that plays out, if any of them are the purchasers, we'll have to wait and see. So then there's two other candidates that I saw mentioned, which is Steve Mnuchin. If that name sounds familiar to you, that's because he's the former U.S. Treasury Secretary. And then Bobby Kotick was another name that I saw mentioned. And I forget what Bobby's famous for. If anybody remembers, go ahead and throw that in chat. I know I should know that. Steve Mnuchin, in my opinion, it should not be a former Treasury Secretary operating a social media platform, because we're starting to get really weird with like mixing legislature with platforms that really should be about free speech and free expression. I find that one to be odd, but I don't get a say in this. So if he buys it, he buys it. If they don't sell, what happens next is it will start to get removed from the app stores. Okay, so again, you wouldn't see this right away. We're talking at least 9 months away. And if it's legally delayed, maybe more like a year, it will eventually start to come off the app stores. What does that mean? Does that mean you won't be able to use it anymore? No, for a little while at least. If it's still on your phone, if you've already installed it, you'll still be able to use it. And I imagine there'll be ways to access this, dark web or whatnot. If you feel brave enough to go do that, that's on you. There's interesting questions that I don't have the answer for, like when you go to upgrade your phone, if you had TikTok installed, usually all your stuff is loaded into your new phone. But the answer I don't know is that automatic for something like this, where it's downloaded from the cloud if you already had it, or does it pull the information from the App Store? And if it's no longer on the App Store, then it wouldn't be able to do that. To be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that. Maybe somebody like Digital Prepper, if he pops in, could answer that question. But that's an interesting question. All right, let me check in with chat here, see how y'all doing. And yes, I promise you I'm going to give you my thoughts on TikTok and why I don't use it. That's coming later on. Dragon Girl, it's good to see you. I have a cattle catcher, not afraid to use it. I use TikTok. What I hope to see out of this is Twitter step up and get it due to free speech. So in my mind, this would be the best case scenario is for Elon Musk to buy it, because Elon, whether you like him or not, and again, you may not like the things that you see on Twitter, and I understand that, he is a champion for free speech. Not 100%. There, don't trust me, stuff gets censored on Twitter, but it's probably the best you've got right now in terms of like a combination of free speech and active users on the platform, right? So there's other ones out there like Rumble and things like that. I'm not going to name them all, that maybe are a little bit more free speech, but there's not a ton of active users, or the way the platform operates, it's just not really a good platform yet for interacting with other people. So in my opinion, Plague Doctor, I agree with you. I think that would be the best case scenario, is if they sell it to Elon. Now, a lot of Elon's money has been tied up, and he may not be able to financially pull that off. So Lee says, wonder if U.S. will use Agent of Foreign Intelligence Collection trumps foreign free. Yeah, that's basically what they're basing this on, Lee, is that they consider it to be a national security risk. That's what they're saying. I am going to touch on that piece of it near the end of this. I'll give you my thoughts on it for what it's worth, my opinion. Yeah, and also it makes me think of Kentucky, makes me think of Tipper Gore in the 80s, Al Gore's wife, queen of censorship right there. For those of us who grew up Gen X, we had Al Gore and his wife were trying to ban all the cool music that we were listening to. You guys remember that? And they pulled in Twisted Sister and bands like that into court, and they basically wanted that music gone. That's, this is these are your people that are champions for censorship. You get what you vote for, folks. If this is what America wants, then we'll get more of the same, and eventually we won't have any free speech. But I'm just one vote, guys. I'll do my part, but if most Americans want to vote for more censorship, then we're guaranteed to get more censorship. It's coming. Hey, Michelle, it's good to see you. So Michelle, yeah, it's so I use YouTube, Meta, both, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and people have asked me to get on some of the other ones, and unfortunately I just don't have the time. Managing 4 social media platforms is way beyond the time that I even have right now. It's really, really challenging to put out the content that I've got for 4 platforms. So unless there's enough revenue for me to be able to quit my full-time job and do this full-time, I think I'm kind of at capacity. Would I like to be on some of those other platforms? Yeah, it's just no bandwidth for it right now for me, no time. All right, so let's keep rolling here. So what can you do? What can you do about it? If you're a TikTok user, more importantly, if you're a TikTok content creator and this is how you make your money, I get you would be ticked off, and you should be. Your livelihood is now being screwed with. Are you going to stand back and take that? Or are you just gonna take it, or are you gonna push back and say, okay, so this is what you do now. There's a consequence, and the consequence that you can do it peacefully is to use your vote, right? So if you're not happy with what your legislators are doing, you can vote, and you should vote. If you're happy with this, if you love it, then great. Vote for that person again. That's your choice, right? I'm just one vote. I don't get to decide for you. But I think that this is something you should be thinking about, because it goes beyond TikTok, really. This bill creates legal precedent for your government to make decisions about what you can and can't do online, right? You understand that, right? This isn't just about TikTok. This now has created a legal precedent. So the only options left to us now is to say, okay, you chose to do this. We're choosing to get you out of office. We don't like what you did, and we don't support this. And if you don't like Orange Man because he's mean, or says sexist things or whatever, I get it. I really do. I understand that. So you still have another choice. You can vote third party. You can write in a candidate, and that sends a message that we don't approve of what you did here. But if you vote again for the person that took away things that you liked, then you're saying we want more of that, right? You get this, right? Like, it's common sense. And if you're on, what else can you do? So if you're an influencer on TikTok, you certainly have the power to talk to your audience, just like I'm talking to my audience right now. And you can say, this is BS. And I want all of my audience to think about voting out anyone who supported this. That would be a good use. You have power. People don't realize that. If you have an audience and you have a voice, you have some power. Use it, right? Use your influence. That's why you're an influencer, right? So if you're on TikTok and you're not happy about this because your livelihood has now been screwed with, and your business has now been screwed with, then you can sit back and you can take it like a wimp, or you can fight back and say, this is BS, and we're going to make you pay because we're going to vote you out of office. And that is a peaceful thing that you can do. And it's called American democracy, and it's capitalism, and it's the American way. There are consequences to when the legislators don't do what you want them to do. Okay? Capiche? Right? So you can start spreading the word about this. You got 9 months, and you get to November. You got to November to start talking to your audience about this. What else can you do? You need to start backing up your videos, because if it doesn't get sold and eventually it goes down the gutter, back up your videos, get on some other platforms, start spreading out your business a little bit. Get on Instagram. Instagram has Reels. It's very similar to what TikTok has. YouTube has Shorts. Get on Twitter. Twitter is really supportive of free speech. Whether you like everything that's being said on there or not, you have the right to say almost anything on there, as long as you're not threatening somebody and things like that, right? So get on some other platforms. This is how you can maybe save your business. Encourage your audience to follow you to these other platforms, right? I'm going to check comments there in a minute. I see everybody's kind of chatting. Let's see. Yeah, that's okay, Michelle. And I get that not everybody's a content creator. Some people just like to use these things, and you have a voice too, right? Like if that's your entertainment, you have a voice too. Hey, Sassy Gal, it's good to see you. Unk, it's good to see you. Unk's a big champion for free speech too. We've talked about this a few times. The lobbyists, the big lobbyists are a problem. Technically, we are all lobbyists, right? And if you've never met with your legislators, you have the right to do that. You have a right to make an appointment and go talk to your legislators. I've done that. And here's what I'll tell you is, unless you're showing up with a suitcase full of money, your voice may not be, to some legislators, I'll put the caveat on there, to some legislators, your voice might not be as powerful as these big businesses that are showing up with lobbyist money to campaign donations and things like that. They're the people who are the whales that are really influencing this stuff. So, there are probably some whales out there that could be allies in this, that are champions of free speech, that could use some of their money to lobby, and that is going to have some influence on it, right? But your voice does matter, or it should. It should. Actually, let's talk about that for a second. So when this first came up, TikTok itself was encouraging people to call their legislators and ask them not to do this. And you know what a lot of legislators did? Do you guys know about this? Did you read this? They took their phones off the hook. They literally said to their own constituents, we don't care how you feel about this. These people work for you, and you need to remind them of that, okay? They work for you. And if they're not doing what you want, you can fire them with your vote, okay? They took their phones off their hook and said, this is a problem that we're getting calls from our constituents. I want you to think about that for a second. That's literally saying, we don't care. Okay, you get that? Like, I don't know how to make this more clear to people. All right, let's go to chat again. It's a bad precedent. Yeah, this is not just if you hate TikTok, and I don't like TikTok personally. Again, I'm going to tell you why at the end. I don't like TikTok, but I don't like censorship and government overreach even more than I don't like TikTok. Does that mean the enemy of my enemy is my friend? I don't know. So let's talk about the spyware thing, okay? So that's the allegation, is that our government is saying that this is a national security risk. Okay, prove it. Show us why it's a national security risk. Now, I have heard this myself from friends that I have who work in the intelligence community, and that's one of the reasons why I don't have it. But if you're going to take this away from people, I do think the onus of responsibility is now to show us why and exactly how. Well, it steals your data. Okay, so do all these other platforms, right? So then the question becomes, well, what are they doing with the data? Okay, so we know now maybe we have an argument. So Meta uses the data for advertising. So this is why you get products shown to you that you may have been interested in, and yeah, your phone is listening to you. We've already established this, and so that's already kind of a thing. So if you're not using it for advertising, then what are you using it for? Social engineering, spying? What does that mean? Why would ByteDance be spying on us? Let's open up the books and let's have a real conversation if you want Americans to understand this. I think we're entitled to that, and I think they can handle that information. So if you have real data that says that this data is being misused, then I think you owe it to the American people now, since you put this law into the books, to say this is why we did it. Open the books, show us. And I also think the average American knows this, right? Like, that when I go on Facebook, my data is being compromised. When I go on YouTube, I know my data is being compromised, right? When you go on TikTok, you know that your data is being compromised. So you make a conscious choice, just like all of us. And I think Americans are smart enough to make those decisions for themselves. If you don't care that your data is being used in a certain way, I think you're old enough to make that decision for yourself. And I don't think big daddy government, nanny government, should be making that decision for you, unless they can legitimately prove that Joe Schmo living in Idaho, that his data is now a national security risk. If that's the case, then show it. Show the work. Show the math, right? Yeah, and there will be repercussions to that, Sassy Gal, too. There's going to be, so we have this weird trade relationship with China that we buy a lot of goods from them. They produce a lot of goods for us, including our medicines. And people need to remember that's a huge security issue, that if they suddenly said, okay, fine, we're done giving you Americans your medicine, we're cutting it off, or your factories, we're firing everybody in the factories, we are screwed, because we can't just start producing it in the United States. That takes years to get those factories up and running again. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to hurt, right? So we have this weird codependent relationship with China, and they don't think that they don't have some power in this, and that they can say, okay, well, you can't use Microsoft Edge. We're banning Microsoft Edge because we think Microsoft Edge is a security threat to China. Or you can't use Google Chrome, right? And of course, they can do all these things too. So this just worsens our relationships too. It's another factor to consider with that, right? Yep, and that's true. Unc, that's been the case for a while, and a lot of state agencies also have banned it on use of state equipment. And again, if there's a good reason, then open the books and show us exactly how and why this is the case, right? Sad Statue of Liberty. Yep. Yep. Sets a new precedent for our government. Yeah, they don't do what the constituents want already. They don't. So this is just another example of that, and it's just gonna continue to get worse as long as we continue to say, hey, that's fine, you can make all the decisions for us, daddy government. Well, we'll see, right? We'll see what people decide in November. Yep. Yeah, that's my fear, Plague Doctor, is that things are just going to keep getting whittled and whittled away, and then eventually the only people who will be allowed to be on that platform like YouTube is people who are doing carpool karaoke and those like shuffle dances and stuff like that. Which is, I mean, I know I'm kind of goofing on that, but if people find that entertaining, that's fine. There's a lot of silly things that I find entertaining, like Beavis and Butthead and South Park, and people would say, well, that's mindless. And yeah, okay, yeah, it's mindless. I get it. Sometimes we need a little bit of that too to just like shut off and unplug and like let something else entertain us. So I kind of get it too. Okay, then if that's the case, Unc, then prove it. Prove, the government, if they have data on that, because they've already passed the bill now, and people are pissed off. So if they want to keep their jobs, they can prove it. Yep, there's a lot of data theft going on. There's a lot of data theft going on. Everything on the internet is traceable. That's true. Remember that, folks, that when anything you do on the internet is in Sharpie. I mean, it's, Unc, you may be right that it's being used in a completely different way, but then I think the American people have a right to understand why this is being taken away from them. Okay. Bacon, it's good to see you, brother. How are you doing? Yardbirds, good to see you. So that's Yardbirds. That's been going on for a while. That's been going on since the Obama administration. Remember him saying nobody is listening to your phone calls? And then Edward Snowden proved that actually wasn't true. People are listening to your phone calls. Yeah, there are some options for kind of improving your privacy for sure. Digital Prepper goes over some of that stuff. Make sure you guys are checking out his channel. See if I'm missing anything here. I do believe that the majority of data theft at this point, the majority of it is to sell you stuff, right? Your data is worth money. If they know that old Sarge likes pocket knives, that information is worth money. Okay. Because guess what I see a lot of advertisements for? Well, actually, not really, because Meta doesn't allow those things. Yeah. Too bad, because you make a little money on it, Meta. You advertise some pocket knives. Old Sarge might use that. We might click a link, and you might get a little bit of money there. But you know what? You want to keep censoring? That's fine. I like my cat videos. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I need that. I missed something. Who's a good guest? I missed that. You guys suggested a guest. Let me know who you were talking about. So the people's elbow. Yeah, so I love cat videos. I'll be honest, sometimes I need that. Sometimes like I'm just so overwhelmed with the world. I'm a therapist, and I manage that part of the job really, really well. But sometimes if like there's a lot of trauma that's been explained, I need to take care of myself and I need to unplug for a little bit. And people are telling me stories about, I don't want to get this stuff in your heads, but just in very vague terms, kids being hurt, things like that. I have my own coping mechanisms for being able to help them and not have it have me take it on. But sometimes I need some of those coping mechanisms mean like I got to go home, not watch the news, and just watch cat videos. Like that helps me to cope, right? So I get it why I get why some people like the dance videos and the carpool karaoke and stuff like that. We all have that need for like something completely cute or mindless or funny or whatever. Southern Tier Prepper, is good to see you. I hope you're doing okay, my friend. Gunville, is always good to see you, my friend. Cat videos rock. You're right. Yeah, cat videos are awesome, guys. So, puppy videos are awesome, right? Trailer Park Boys is awesome. South Park's awesome. Beavis and Butthead is awesome. Saturday Night Live is usually awesome. Sometimes it's not so awesome. Whatever you like, it's okay. We got to have some of that too. But my fear is that like all we're going to get is that kind of stuff. That like anything political eventually will be, you can't talk about it. Anything medical, you'll be eventually, you can't talk about it. Anything related to independence, you won't be able to talk about it. Anything that helps people become more self-sufficient, I think eventually, my fear is that eventually you won't be able to talk about these things, because we're already seeing the beginnings of these things being whittled away through things like shadow bans and stuff like that. It's already the hallmarks are already there. And so like each step that we take moves us closer to the point where you won't be able to see that stuff at all. All right, back to TikTok. What happens next? So there's going to be legal challenges. My personal belief is they will not win those legal challenges, and it's going to be put up for sale. And then what I think is going to happen, I want you to remember that you heard it from Sarge first, is I think Bytedance is going to, when they ultimately have to sell this, they'll sell it, but like, how do I explain this? Parts of it won't function correctly anymore. Like the thing that made TikTok so popular was its algorithm, which suggested to you things that it knew you liked. And it was very good at it from what I understand. I've never used it, but from what I understand, it's very good at that. If that suddenly isn't working too good right before the sale, like then TikTok's not worth as much, is it? Right. So I think that could happen. I also think that Bytedance is just going to come out with another social media platform that's similar to or even better than TikTok. And because this bill specifically targeted TikTok, that new platform will be available in the United States, right? So you understand how that works. So for example, to use a different metaphor, here in the United States, we have a couple of years ago, they passed the hemp bill, right? And so this made so that states could sell CBD. If you don't know what that is, it's like the component, it's the chemical in marijuana that's, this video is just about to get shadow banned because I did this. It's the chemical in marijuana that does not get people intoxicated, but it seems to help people with anxiety and pain and sleep and stuff like that. So that became legal in, I believe, all 50 states. But a side effect of that is that it opened up other avenues of research for other components of that plant that can now be sold, that they can't just suddenly say are illegal. It has to go through a bill process and stuff, right? So this is the similar kind of metaphor that I think you'll see, is that Bytedance is just going to release a new platform, and guess what? Everybody's just going to go to that new platform, right? So this bill, it's questionable if it'll even do what they wanted it to do, the legislators. I appreciate you, Michelle. Thank you. Sell to a shell company with no obvious ties. Yeah, I suppose that's a possibility. That's it. That's all you're going to get is crayon ASMR. And I'm not knocking on ASMR. I've watched some ASMR too. It's actually very relaxing. If you don't know what that is, I don't know what the initials stand for, but it's really relaxing. Like sometimes it's like sounds or visual stuff. Like there's one that I like called ice cream rolls. Okay. And what all they do for ice cream rolls ASMR is they mix ice cream with different ingredients. And it's just really soothing, and like, can't explain it, but like your brain watches it, and it's, check out ice cream rolls. I think that's the name of the channel. That's a cool one. Social media platforms. Yeah, that's my fear, Sassy, is that this is now we've started a legal precedent, which is what they've wanted all along. Remember, they've gone after, our legislators have gone after Meta. They seem to love Google, but I think you need to remember that Google has a lot of government contracts. Google manages a lot of information for the government, So maybe that gives them some preferential treatment. I don't know. We have a top secret Google factory here somewhere in my area. I don't know the exact location. I've heard about it. And nobody's allowed on the campus. Nobody's allowed near the campus. And it's like, nobody's supposed to know it's here, but like everybody knows it's here. And I heard from somebody who did get to go on the campus because they were making a delivery. And they said, like, it's like futuristic sci-fi. Like there's drones flying around doing security on the parking lot and stuff. What are they doing there? They're not managing your Google Chrome servers. I can tell you that. They're doing something for the government. And no, I don't know where they are. I honestly don't. So don't ask me to tell you where it is. I really don't. I know it's somewhere within 150 miles of me. That's all I know. That's a big area. Yeah, source. I mean, just like with companies like Zildjian and Coca-Cola and things like that, the real value is in the hidden formula, right? Like the value with TikTok, well, it's two things. The user base, if they stay. the user base if they stay. Now, remember when Twitter was bought by Elon, some people did leave. Some people joined too. So maybe it was like a, maybe it was pretty equal. I don't know. But a lot of people did leave Twitter. So does the user base stay? The bigger thing, the bigger value is the power of their secret sauce, the algorithm. Facebook, YouTube suggest lewd things still and show all kinds of inappropriate stuff. So it's weird. I've talked about the meta thing a lot. I can get in trouble for showing knives on meta for wood carving. Okay. This is a very healthy hobby, but I've seen plenty of videos on Instagram where they're teaching girls how to have eating disorders, and they're teaching boys how to do these challenges that are very dangerous that will land your kids in the ER. And that seems to be tolerated. So there's like this real hypocrisy with meta with how what they consider to be inappropriate content or regulated goods and things like that. I love that. Yeah, and it is very relaxing. STP is very relaxing. Yep, and I knew you were into it, Gunville. Yep, actually, you were the one who told me about it. I didn't even know what it was until you told me about it. Had a friend of stage 4. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, see, so Pentucky, so I think that's part of my concern too. I know that there are large entities that want to target natural remedy content, and I have a lot of friends who are doing that kind of content, and I'm very worried about that. If you notice when I do my videos and I say, if I talk about a plant and I say this dandelion has this medicinal value, what I try to say is some cultures have believed that blah 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 can do this for your blah 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 body part, right? Because if I say to you, oh, and this has been proven, or this is known to help with your GI issues, for example, then it's considered false medical information. You understand? So I already know that like they don't, a lot of these platforms, because there's a push from the companies that advertise with them to go after these natural remedy content creators. And you're next. You need to know this. So you need to stand with everybody else that's being affected by this, because I guarantee you natural remedy content creators and you homesteaders and raw milk people and homeschoolers too, you all are next on the agenda for censorship. It's coming. Right? Like the writing's on the wall. I hope you don't think like, oh, I'll just stand back because they're only going after knife content creators. Oh, no, 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 no. They're coming for you too. So you need to stand with us. Yeah, that's it. Right. You shouldn't be, you need to go pay a pharmaceutical company huge amounts of cheddar to have the cure that only they know about, because indigenous cultures didn't know about some of these things for thousands of years. No. And here's the funny thing: I work in the medical industry, and just about every medicine is developed from plants or fungus. Right? People know this, right? So like aspirin comes from what? Say it in this chat if you don't know. I'll get to it in a second if nobody knows that, right? Like, so just about every modern medicine has been derived from a plant or fungus compound. So you can't tell me that these plants and fungus compounds don't have medicinal value, right? Like it just doesn't make any sense. That's right. Michelle J knows. Comes from willow bark. Or at least that's originally, oil of wintergreen. Synthetic, exactly. So originally, though, the compounds would have come from these plants, and then they take it into a lab and they screw around with it and they change a few things in the compounds, and then they can trademark it. And once they trademark it, they can sell it to you for lots of money. And then they can say, oh, anyone who's suggesting that you use willow bark to help with a headache is producing dangerous content, right? This is the game, folks. This is the game, right? And you need to understand it, and we need to make a decision. Are we gonna push back on it, or are we gonna just take it like wimps? Literally we're at a crossroads for content creation on the internet in the next couple of years. What the decisions that come out of this and in the next few years are going to decide what's allowed from here on, right? And it's about control as much as it's about, in my opinion, let me rephrase that. In my opinion, I think control is a bigger factor here than worrying about Joe Schmo from Idaho's personal data. They don't care about Joe Schmo from Idaho. You know that, right? Like they really don't. You're a number. If you're paying taxes, they like you, you know. But if it's not a lot, they probably don't care. Like if you die, you die. Yep. Sassy, you've talked about that on your channel. Sassy's got a video out about there's been some information going on about the Missouri. I'm not going to get too far into this one, but Sassy's got a video out about the Missouri homeschool law that's gone out, and there's been a lot of misinformation that's been going about. She really did her research on this. Please go check out her video if you're concerned about that. But that issue aside, I do think homeschoolers are like in the crosshairs for a lot of this stuff. When you like control, you hate people who take control to themselves and who are independent and self-sufficient. And that's why there's going to be more stuff targeted at homesteaders and homeschoolers and natural remedy content creators, things like that. All right. Yeah, check out Sassy Gal Prepping's videos. I don't want to go too far down that because that's like probably another whole hour. And honestly, I'm not schooled up enough on it to adequately speak to that. All right, final thoughts from me. So my personal opinion is I'm against censorship. That's a huge issue for me. With a few exceptions, you shouldn't be going online and threatening people with harm, physical harm. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. As far as racism and sexism goes, I don't like that. I say that every video that I go live here, that I don't like that. Other people will argue, and this is why I'm trying to be a little bit towards the gray area with this. Other people will say that if you don't allow all free speech, that you're not encouraging any free speech, right? Unk has talked about this before, right? And there is a way to counter racism and sexism, right? You can do like what I do is I'm just going to block you and you're not going to be able to comment on my channel. Or you can, you can get a group of people together and like say, hey, this isn't okay. Don't talk to people like that, or, hey, that information is just wrong. You have bad information and this is why. So there's ways to counter that stuff. I think that maybe we don't have to go full censorship with it, but as you as a person, as an individual, and how you use your platform, you absolutely have the right to say, I don't want to see this crap and I'm going to block it. And the algorithm should be trained to not show you that if you don't want to see that. That's where I stand on that kind of stuff. Okay. I do think companies that we're in a very weird space here where the internet really is only like 20 for mainstream use. It's older than this, but for mainstream use, 26, 27 years old, when most people in the United States started to be able to have access to the internet. I do think that's still new, and we haven't figured out how to do this yet. We haven't figured out how to act as a community online, So some disclaimers, which I do at the start of my live streams, and companies should have to give you a disclaimer about how your data is being used. I think that would have been a better law, that to say TikTok needs to give you full disclaimer about how your data is being used, and you can access that, you can limit it, you can put restrictions on it, and you can choose not to go on there, or you can choose, I accept all these things and I do go on there. Now, you can argue and say that most people won't read that stuff. Okay, well, whose fault is that? So then it just comes back to, is it really a national security risk? And if it is, then tell us why. Explain it. Because it hasn't been explained, in my opinion. I don't see anything that has said other than, okay, well, we're afraid that the government is going to have this. Okay, what are they going to do with it? What proof do you have that they're getting that? Right? Like, so what if it's out there, and I know people in the intelligence community who've said this, then give that information to the United States citizens. We have a right to know. If this at this point you took away something that 150 million people were using, you owe them an explanation, and a better one than what you gave. So why do I not use TikTok? I promised you I was going to get to this point. So because of I trust my friends that have said, Sarge, it's probably not a good idea. I personally chose not to. I respect your right to do so. And here's another big factor for me why I'm not on TikTok. Despite, you see these propaganda commercials with Patriotic Kenny and the girl who makes the soap, and TikTok does wonderful things, right? You've seen these commercials. Yeah, I'm sure they do. But I've also seen people show me stuff from TikTok of encouraging children to do very harmful stuff. The Tide Pod challenge, the milk crate challenge, the condom sniffing challenge, the toilet licking challenge. These are real things, guys. The Momo challenge, which that was a one where they had this puppet, which was encouraging kids to do terrible things like hurt themselves. There's been a lot of that kind of content. Oh, the egg cracking challenge, where people were encouraged to humiliate their children by smashing eggs over their face and showing it online to exploit them for views. So does some of that stuff exist on YouTube? It does. But from what I can tell, YouTube does a better job of trying to catch it and shut it down. Okay. Or at least they're not going to show that content to a wide audience. They don't call it shadow banning. They call it borderline content. And from what I can tell, safety of children is a bigger priority for YouTube than it is for TikTok. Do they get it right all the time? Nope, definitely not. But they seem to be trying to, with that kind of stuff, say, hey, if you're encouraging kids to hurt themselves, we're just not going to promote that here, right? So my feeling is that, yeah, you've got Patriotic Kenny, and that's great. I'm really happy for him and the woman who makes soap, and I'm sure there's charities and all kinds of other wonderful things that are on TikTok. But you didn't handle this, and it's been going on for years, and people have been complaining about it. And if you have such a great algorithm, you absolutely could have shut that stuff down, or at least not shown it to wider audiences so it doesn't become popular stuff. That is really poor ethics, and that is a big issue that I have with TikTok. Now, if you want to go and watch that stuff, you're an adult. Make your own decisions. It's not for me. It's just not. And that's why I'm not on TikTok. Now, if TikTok sells to an American company and that stuff gets cleaned up, I will consider joining TikTok, because I've heard wonderful things about the algorithm and that people enjoy it a lot. And I think that I could do some of my foraging shorts and stuff on there, and I think people would like that, and I could reach more people that need help learning that stuff. So we'll see. But that's we're gonna have to see how that all plays out. All right, before I go to I always end with I always end with a positive thought here. Let me check your chat one more time. Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, there is. Yeah, you're right, Dragon Girl. Too much aspirin can be lethal. Exactly. Actually, I know some cases of that, unfortunately, because they didn't understand the dosage. Okay. You can be pro free speech while gatekeeping your punchable from charge. Yeah. So that's I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say, is that I'm not gonna, when I do live streams, I'm not gonna allow somebody to use my channel and my platform to be a jerk to other groups of people. I'm gonna do my best to shut that down. If you want to go do that stuff, go create your own channel, right? And you can go talk about it, and maybe people will come and maybe people won't. But it's not what I'm going to do here. See if I missed anything else. Tide Pods. No, no more. No more challenges. No more TikTok challenges. We're done. Hate those stupid TikTok challenges. That's yeah. So then when you talk about that, right, that could be used for good, right? And I will include it's not just about foraging. Like, yeah, of course I want my content to do well, of course. There's like cat videos do some good too, right? Like that helps people cope. It helps people unwind, helps people laugh, right? So like that's good too. Um, if there is value in that stuff, um, the dance videos and if it helps people feel better, then maybe we need that. Maybe we need a little bit of that, right? All right. Appreciate you all. Thank you everybody for staying with me. Let me finish out with our final thoughts here. So uh this one's gonna be a little bit complicated and it's a little bit off topic from what we were talking about here. But if you're on Instagram, I want you to go check out Prepper's Wife Life, right? And there's she did a post that went viral, and I guess she's had this. I messaged her a couple times about it. She's had a few go viral, and this one was about the buckets that were for sale at Walmart. Sassy gal, you might have seen this one, and that preppers, we use those a lot of times for food storage, right? So she said once you get above like 100,000 views or 500,000 views, all of a sudden the trolls find you because it's getting shown to so many people. And boy did she get some trolls come out and like, calling preppers crazy and paranoid, and that we're the reason that there was a toilet paper shortage and all, just craziness. So let's clarify a few things, and then I'm going to leave you with a positive message, right? So number one, no, the preppers did not cause the toilet paper shortage. Preppers buy our stuff little by little in advance so that we are not in the store panicking when the rest of the world is. So no, the preppers did not cause the toilet paper shortage of 2000. That was caused by people who didn't prepare and suddenly went into panic because they were talking about lockdowns. And the first thought was, dear God, what if I don't have toilet paper, right? No, the preppers didn't do that. It's crazy, irrational thinking. And anyone who thinks that, like you really are distorted. We prep in advance, so we're not part of that. When you go in the store and you see that nonsense, we're already back at our house, just kind of like shaking our heads, watching it on TV. Where am I going with this? When you start to become self-sufficient, and when you start to think about, I need to be a little bit more prepared for hard times ahead, there are going to be people who are going to call you crazy. There are people who call you tinfoil hat and conspiracy theory and dumb. You're dumb to waste your money. All this other stuff, right? Don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. Those are the little piggies that built their house of straw and sticks. And we know, because we've seen this, when bad stuff happens, they come knocking on the door of the people who built the piggies who built their houses of brick, right? We all know the story of the three little piggies, right? How old is that tale? I don't know, but it's there for a reason, right? This is not a new phenomena. And so it's up to us. You can be kind and you can help other people. And I actually do encourage my audience to prepare a little bit more so that you can help out those who didn't prepare, but that's your choice, right? I know many people in the community will say, too bad, you're on your own, right? And my message for you is, don't worry about the people who make fun of you for being smart, for being prepared. Okay, that's it. You know what you got to do to take care of yourself and your family. And then beyond that, it's up to you. If you want to go beyond that so that you can help people, I think that's a wonderful thing. I encourage you to do that. If you don't want to, I respect your choice. To be an isolationist, you certainly have that right. Okay. Folks, I really appreciate you all. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. What are you doing this week? Going out to grocery shop? You must be one of those prepper people. Yes. If you go to Costco, you're probably a prepper, right? Or Sam's Club. Folks, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Prepping is awesome. It's super fun, and it's not about anxiety. It's about being prepared. It's actually the antithesis. It's the antidote to anxiety, right? So the more prepared you are, the less anxious you are about what's to come. But also get outside and enjoy yourself and do something fun. Enjoy your leisure time. Enjoy your cat videos. Most of all, hug your family, right? Spend time with your family. I appreciate everybody. Make sure you check out Bacon's stream later on tonight. And 2 more quick shout outs I want to say. Die Bullfrog 79, Uncle Al, as we call him. He always is shouting out everybody else. Please go support him. Give him a subscribe. Tell him that Prepping with Sarge sent you over. And God is Great, who's here a lot of times in our chat as well. God is Great is the name of the channel. He's always shouting out other people as well. Please go ahead and support him. Tell him I sent you over there. Let's because those 2 guys, honestly, they do more shout outs than anybody else in the community trying to help other channels. So let's give a little bit of love back to them. Okay. Hey folks, keep planting your seeds, keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.